Hello. Good evening. Look, this is my hamster. This is a story I want to tell you also one day. The story of my hamster. I call them hamsters for healing because I had 15 little hamsters. But today I want to make a video about living in the grace of God, because I live in the grace of God since so long. And I thought many people, they might even don't know that this exists, that is possible. Yeah, so that's why I thought, oh, I would like to talk about that. Because I lived more or less since more than, around 25 years in the grace of God. That means for me of what is given to me. Because I lost my capacity to work long time ago, which was not easy for me, and still it is not easy. But yes, instead of working for money, I do things which I like to do, and I like to share things which make me happy to share. And God takes care somehow. And I want to tell you that I want to give testimony about it. So my hamster, I think I will bring him back because he gets a bit nervous, because he always wants to move. I have many things in common with my hamster. I also like moving. So, yeah, I wanted to tell you that I lived 9 years without any income, because it was my dream to live without money. And so I didn't receive any money anymore. It was in 2009, before I got a pension, and it was always for 1 year, 1.5 or 2, and then I had to go back to the doctors, and that was not so nice for me. And I thought, oh no, I don't want to go there anymore. It's not nice for me. I prefer not to get any money and realize my dream to live without money. And somehow that happened in my life, 2009. And a friend of mine in a German city told me he lived without money already. He walked through Germany because he read a book of somebody, and he did the same. He wrote a book about it, and he told me in southern France, people who have no home can survive. So somehow my life brought me there. And another detail is that I was doing St. James Way already before, in 2007, from Munich to Santiago de Compostela by bike. And somehow I wanted to go to Rome. Not because of St. Peter, but because after Santiago could be a good idea to go to Rome. And it was in October, and I walked in Switzerland several days, and I was totally alone on this way, and somehow it was getting cold at the end of October. it was getting freezing cold, and I needed gloves and everything for the cold. And so I said, oh no, my goodness, I cannot walk alone. So I did hitchhiking and I ended up in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, which is the beginning of the path, the Camino Frances. It's in France, but it's a one-day walk over the hill, and then we are in Spain. And but somehow I felt no, it's not to do that now. And I ended up, it was getting cold there also, and people say, no, you cannot stay here. It's not the Côte d'Azur. So I learned, I knew a person, he was living without having a home already for several years. And I was new in this situation, not having a home, because I gave up my apartment, I could say, in the wrong moment. And so I was homeless somehow. And in France, on the street somehow. And then this guy who I knew said, oh, I go to Avignon. If you want, you can come with me. And so I went with him to Avignon. I didn't like that very much because I didn't feel fine. I wanted to go away every day, but it took me 2 weeks. I was friends of this person in Avignon. I felt strange there. I wanted to leave. But for 2 weeks, I had to stay to find out what is there wrong with this town. I don't want to speak about that tonight because my subject is different. And then somehow my life took me to Aix-en-Provence. And in Aix-en-Provence, Marie-Madeleine was living. Marie-Madeleine for around 10 years. So I was guided there, and I was living there on the street, literally. And I was living for 1 year without money. I mean, it was that I spent 88 euro during the year because I found many things, especially clothes. And one day I had the idea, oh, I could go to the flea market and give this away for free. And I said, tout gratuit, everything for free. And so people gave me what they wanted. 1 euro for a t-shirt or something. And so I had a little bit of money, and then I could buy like a cream for my face or for my body, and some paper to write, because I always wrote a diary. I do that since I'm 12 years old, and I can really recommend it for everybody to write diary. I do this till today. And when I was living there in Aix-en-Provence, I wrote also down what happened to me living without money in the streets of Aix-en-Provence, and what I found, and what people I met, and what they told me. I was talking to these people living on the streets, like me. And I found many interesting things, like nearly all of them, they were suffering because they had often parents which were not nice to them. And somehow they couldn't they couldn't handle that. We cannot somehow understand how anybody can be bad to us, can treat us badly. What did we do? So the people on the street had a lot this problem. I had this problem too. And I had a blog. I wrote down my stories in German. And I even made a book out of it. And I published it as a self-publisher in 2020. I would really like to publish it in English, but for me alone, it's too much work. I cannot handle it. I'm so sorry. If somebody can help with that, I'm very happy. I would be happy. Or find a publisher, editor, but please for free that I don't need to pay. Yes. And I was happy because it was my dream to live without money. And my dream became true. It was not easy. No, I don't say that. I don't say, oh, make it like me. I just can say, if it happens, make the best out of it. So I want to tell you that I was always on the search for God also. And I was living with the gospel. I was like following Jesus, like it's written there, who wants to follow me has to give up everything he has. I thought, oh, yes, I want to try that. And I did it. And yeah, but it was not so easy. And of course, there are very few possibilities how we can live that if we want to. One is in a monastery. And I actually thought of going to a monastery, but I didn't believe totally what they tell us in the churches, because I did research already. I have my own belief already, and I didn't fit so much into the Catholic belief system, I would say. So, and then at the time, I met also a sect, I have to say. It was really a sect, yeah. And for many years, I tried to live with them, but it was not possible because I had a different belief. And yes, so when I tell you this is that now, after so many years, I found out also that I did not succeed to talk about my belief. So I want to start to talk about it a little bit. I lived also with the Evangel of Marie-Madeleine. There is a book of French author. Who is it called? Lelou is his name. First name, I don't, Jean-Yves, something like this. The Evangel of Marie-Madeleine. And after this year in Aix-en-Provence, and I was traveling like in the Alps also, and was invited by people I met. Then I came to the Pyrenees. It was the second winter that it was snowing and it was cold. And then I left and thought, oh my goodness, I want to go to Spain where it's warm. But then in Perpignan, I met a Brazilian guy. He said, oh, what are you doing here in Babylon? Come with us to a cave. We live in caves. Not so far from here. You can come with me by bus, and there are people living like you. So I went with him, and I was searching for so long for a cabin to live in, and in the Alps, and I couldn't find one. But then suddenly there were really a cabin where it was possible to stay. And I stayed there also for several days and nights. But I found out that my dream was different than reality, because, I mean, it was snow outside. Inside, we had a, how is it called? You know, from the oil, the huge, I don't know, like a huge bin. And there, these young guys, 3 young guys, they were making fire. So it was not so cold inside. There were blankets where there was the opening from like a door. So it was not so cold, but even during the day, it was dark. So I couldn't even read or do something. And then it was wet everywhere, only besides where the mattresses were. And the first night, what I was doing always was for the coussin, I don't know in English, but where we put the head on while sleeping, I put my clothes. I made a small amount of, I put a small amount of clothes together. But then in the morning, I found my clothes in a hole full of water, and I couldn't even recognize my clothes. So, and then these young guys, which 2 of them were from the suburbs of Marseille, they had also 3 dogs, and they were not treating them so nicely all the time. And after some time, I thought, oh my goodness, I don't know if this is wrong. And then I found a guy who invited me. And as it was getting really, really cold that winter, I was happy to be in a warm apartment. And this guy who invited me, he lived many, many years without an apartment, squatting houses. And in summer, he walked with his 2 horses through France. I met a lot of people like this in France, and I like that very much. Yeah, to meet different people who live completely, yeah, free, out of the system. And yeah, I was looking for food, like on the market. After the market, the people which had stands on the market, they left their fruits and vegetables and lettuce, which they couldn't sell because there was a problem with it. So I went there and hitchhiking, and I put these things into boxes, and usually I had 2 big boxes, and then I was hitchhiking back and I had food for 2 weeks for 2 persons. I was living after 1 year more or less without money, 2 years in a van or truck, and then several years with people who invited me, helping them. And then I lived with around 150 euro each month. This was much more comfortable. And I liked that lifestyle, but it was not easy. I don't say that it is easy, but it was possible. And I'm here to tell you it's possible to live different than what we used to think or hear or see. This is what I want to give testimony, and God takes care for us somehow, and especially if we're in need. So for many years, I found people who invited me, and I helped them. And what was very nice, like we had always exchange, and this was making me very happy too. And to have so many things for free, that made me happy. I found many clothes and was giving them away. And yeah, I can say I was living also 7 years without health insurance. That was also possible. In France, there is a whole system of something which is called Médecins du Monde. There you can go without health insurance, and they help you and give you sometimes even the medicine for free or a recipe, and we buy the medicine by ourselves. So I can tell you it's possible to live also out of the system. And I like that very much because I was free. I was just dependent on God somehow. I was guided. And so I always found people who invited me for many, many years. Yeah. Okay, and then 6 years ago, I was getting older, and I found out when I was more than 50 years old, things were getting more difficult, and I really wished to have a room, an empty room for myself and my stuff. And I couldn't live like this anymore. I had done it for so long, and I traveled also very much, and somehow I had this travel spirit, and I thought, yeah, I have to stop somehow. And then I got my pension back, which I had before. Even I lost all the rights over it. So, yeah. And I realized that I still live in the grace of God. That means I live of what is given to me. It's not so much, but it's enough to live. And yeah, this is somehow is also how it's written in the gospel. And I find, yeah, it's true. I still live like this. When you have a roof and you have clothes and you have food, that's enough. Yes, I mean, I have much more than only this. But I want to say sometimes I think also, I would like to have more people who help me to create my things, or I would like to have more money to buy an action cam, or this or that, or that. Then there is nobody who thinks, oh, I want to support this person because I like what she's doing. And then because sometimes I have also these ideas, oh, I want this, I want that, but I don't have. And now I want to tell you the story which happened to me just a few days ago. Because when I'm here telling you this today, maybe it's because of that, because I realized something. When I was living without home, I was often feeling like a little girl in a story or legend which Hans Christian Andersen wrote. This story is called Girl with the Sulfur Sticks. I don't know if you know this story. But what happened to me is when I was living like this in the street without money, I often or sometimes felt like this girl. The story is, there is this girl, she sold sulfur sticks. And it was cold, it was in winter. And she was selling some sulfur sticks, but she had no home. And nobody invited her. And she was finding a place beneath a house where people lived, and there was light and everything. And she was there outside in the cold. And she was burning her last sulfur sticks, thinking about her grandmother. And she wanted so much to be together with the grandmother who was for her in heaven, that she burned the last sulfur sticks she had to feel warm, to feel the love of her grandmother, because obviously she was only loved by her grandmother. Her grandmother was the only one who showed her what love is and that she's a beloved person. And somehow for me, it was the same. And there was a situation several days ago with a woman. I talked to her, a buddy. I talked to her since more than 3 years. And she has money, and she gives the money even to some person who do things that she likes. But she never gave money to me. And I already asked her once or twice if she would give me money for something, but then she said, oh no, I made a crowdfunding. No, I couldn't pay with PayPal, so I don't give you something. So of course I would not ask her again. But when she tells me, sometimes she told me, oh, I gave money to this person, I gave money to this person, I make this with this, I have this person, I have that person, and I always, oh, I have nobody to help me, or I have nobody who support me somehow. No? And I felt it was so much pain. Why do others get things and me not? Always in my life, it was like this. I felt somehow other people are getting what I wish to have, but I don't get it. Why? And then I remembered the story of Hans Christian Andersen, the girl with the sulfur sticks. And I read this story again because I felt like this already so often in my life. And then suddenly I felt like this girl. This girl died in that night. And I wondered, why couldn't she go and see people? Knock at the door. Hello, I'm cold. Would you let me go in? I need a warm place. Somehow she couldn't. She couldn't do that. Like me, I mean, I even asked already, but no, I received a no. So then I thought, yeah, what is it with this girl? She just wanted to be in heaven with God and with her grandmother, who showed her what love is. And somehow I realized that for me it was the same. I only wanted that, nothing else. I only wanted to be with God because I know how it is if you're not feeling with God. If you feel separate. And I know there are spiritual people who say, we are never separate with, it's an illusion. But I have other experiences. We can feel separated. And I did everything I could or I liked to do, to be with God. For me, it was the most important. And somehow, when I felt this, I like this girl, and that it is so similar to my life, how I feel. And Hans Christian Andersen, he wrote the story because there are people on this planet who feel like this. And then something happened to me. And I found what I was looking for. It is just several days ago. I found that place. Where God is, where love is. And I just want to tell you this because I was so in such a place, I could say. Yeah, and tonight I was in a monastery. There were, how is it called? Laying on of hands, which is a Christian tradition. And it's written in the gospel that people who believe in Jesus should do that. And I like to learn how to do it, laying on of hands. And then I was in a mass, and I could talk to a person about my life. And I felt like really nobody asked me all these years I live in Germany about my life. Even I give my postcards that I lived without money and about my book with a diary, what happened when I lived without money. I gave this to many people, but nobody asked it. And it was so important for me that she asked me, because that what motivated me to make this video, to tell you it's possible to live in the grace of God. I don't know how it functions for other people. I can just tell you that it functioned for me. So, okay, I thank you so much for listening. There are so many things to say. I start just now to talk about some things which I have never talked before so clearly, so openly. And I found out that English is for me a better language than German. Some other day I will tell you why, but not tonight. Tonight is enough. I hope I told you a nice story, and whatever, that I can give you hope if you are needing hope, that I give you whatever you need. Thanks for listening until here, and I wish you all the best. If you like it, I'm happy you give me a like. If you think people could like it, share it. I like to have commentaries, respectful commentaries, please. Yes. God bless you all. And I wish that this planet will change. The situation on this planet will change. I hope so. And I'm sure it will change in the future. And yeah, this is why I lived also without money, because it is written in the gospel that only the people who do not take the mark of the beast will go into the future, into the golden age. And the mark of the beast, that can be digital money. So one day we cannot participate anymore to all this. So this is why I lived without money also, because people who believe cannot participate one day anymore. And we have to be aware when it's a time to live differently. And yeah. So everything good for you. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.